Update: husband, 30M, and I, 28F, opened our relationship and now everything is terrible. My husband, I'll call him Eric, has always been a really intense person, but he's a good man. When we got together, I noticed he had a much higher sex drive than I did, but I would usually have sex with him when I wasn't in mood anyway because I love him. He's never vocalized any problems until somewhat recently. I should also mention, just before we got married, we talked about having kids. I'm indifferent to kids, whereas he doesn't want them, so agreed not to have them. Over the last year, my sex drive has been almost non-existent. I've been checked by doctors and they say nothing is wrong physically, but I should talk to a therapist, which I haven't done yet. I haven't even been able to just have sex with him to have sex like I was doing. About 4 months ago, he sat me down and we talked about all this, and he said he needs sex, which I told him I understood, but I can't give that to him right now. We argued for a bit and he ended up sleeping on the couch. In the morning, he suggested we open the relationship. I was heartbroken. He explained that we either give this a try or end the relationship. So I agreed. We set boundaries. No bringing the person to our house ever. No talking about it. Always use protection and regularly get tested. He agreed to all of this. I was actually surprised how okay I was with this as the months moved along. Even when he'd text me that he's going to be late, or when he'd kiss me and tell me his plans that night, it almost felt like a burden was lifted from me. Well, yesterday my husband sat me down again and said he's something really difficult to tell me. For the last couple of months he's been seeing this one girl and she's pregnant. I think I dissociated a little because I heard him talking but couldn't understand the words he was saying. When I came back to reality, I asked if it was his and is she keeping it. Yes and yes. And he plans on being in this child's life actively. I asked him who she was and he told me. It's someone I know, not well, but I do know who she is. I'm utterly heartbroken. I haven't told family or friends yet. I asked him not to. I asked him if he wants a divorce. He didn't say no. He's basically leaving it up to me. So I guess my question is, do I cut my losses and move on or give this marriage another try? Comments: just leave. You're a third wheel in your own marriage. You agreed to an open relationship you didn't want instead of just ending the marriage. Obviously now you need to end the marriage. You didn't want to be in an open relationship, and you are obviously not going to be okay with your husband raising some other woman's kid. This is probably just a troll post, but if it isn't, divorce is clearly the answer. Now there will be an amazing update. Please subscribe to the channel. I really need it. I love you. We're getting a divorce. He came home yesterday afternoon and we had a long, very emotional talk. I asked him questions that I never asked when he told me she was pregnant. He admitted to not using protection. He says he never slept with her before we opened the relationship, but he did kiss her. He said she's the only one he slept with. He said the night before he gave me the open or divorce ultimate, when we argued about sex, was a last-ditch effort to get me to work on things. He admitted that he should have just asked for a divorce instead of asking to open the relationship. He also said I share some blame in this marriage falling apart, which I agree with. I asked him if he remembers if I was always like this. He said in the first 1 to 3 years of our relationship I was enthusiastic about having sex even if my sex drive was low. He admitted he hasn't been in love with me for a while, and he is in love with this other woman. I asked why he suddenly wants kids. He said he slowly changed his mind about kids over the years, but never said anything because our relationship has been so broken that it wouldn't have mattered. He thinks I didn't go to therapy because of my parents. They're very conservative and religious and believe if you pray hard enough, God will give you the answer, and he thinks I subconsciously have an aversion to therapy because of them. I asked him if he hasn't been in love with me for a while, why not divorce me when he realized that. He told me he loves me, and he was in love with me once, and he wanted to make his marriage work. When he kissed her, he realized it was probably too late, but said there was a part of him that didn't want to leave me. He never expected to fall in love with her. He asked me if I was still in love with him, and I said I didn't know. He said that probably means no. We agreed a divorce is the best thing we can do for ourselves and each other. We also agreed to make the divorce as painless as possible. I want to sell the house. He agreed and said he'll move out in the meantime. He said whatever he doesn't take with him I can keep or sell. We didn't talk about alimony or anything. I'll let my lawyer and his lawyer deal with that, but I'm not sure I'm entitled to it since I work a decent job, and from what I've read, in my state that might be enough for a judge to say no. I feel pretty numb right now. I don't think I have the energy to cry anymore. I still haven't told anyone. He said he'll wait to tell people until we get lawyers involved, because it's going to be a mess with family and friends once they find out. Anyway, that's all. He's gone and I'm laying in bed, still processing everything. Surprisingly, I don't hate him. I'm not mad. I made a promise to myself to contact a therapist on Monday, and I'm holding myself to that this time. I want to thank everyone for the advice, as harsh as some of it was. Comments. I'm sad and happy for you at the same time. One figured after your first post that he was in love with this other woman. I also figured you weren't in love with him anymore either, considering opening the marriage made you feel relief and not pain and disgust. At least you were able to sit down and acknowledge that it was a two-way street and that the best will be to move on. It hurts now, but once the shock of it is gone, you will feel a lot better. I'm sorry you went through this. However, this is a perfect example of why I tell people to end the relationship when one partner asks to open it. Because one of two things has happened. They've had an inappropriate emotional relationship to the point that sex is on the table, or they are already cheating. When a monogamous partner asks for an open relationship, it's already over. Let's move on to the next intriguing story. I am a 32F with a 32 MBF. He accused me of cheating after I went out for 2 hours. How do I communicate to my partner that I am not a cheater? I told my BF before I left that I wanted to meet new people. He's fixated that I cheated on him in that time frame and says he doesn't trust me. He called me 23 times and 50-some messages. I felt in that moment afraid, but messaged him back. I made the mistake of not picking his call up, but I felt a few hours should be okay, right? I also made mistake by not knowing exact details, but again, I felt we should be able to trust each other, especially because I told him before I left. He threw my stuff out in living room, burned old photos, cut up our photos, and punched the bathroom mirror. He was so drunk he pissed on the floor. He also grabbed me roughly and threw my clothes at me. He swept water bottles out of my hand and was so scary. I was afraid to show my phone because he might destroy it too until he calmed down and I moved from Cali to Florida to be with him. I did show him the conversation multiple times until he told me to delete the contact and conversation. Now he's demanding I find a way to recover the deleted messages, but it's gone. Cleared recently deleted just wanted to be over. He also demanded to look at my body for marks and my clothes. I have no friends or family, and that was the first time I ventured out a bit to meet new people, and he went crazy. He has then shown he can go out all day, but I can't say anything, and he can go to a friend's place, but I don't know where he is. Yet he says I made him violent and deserve this treatment. That I am the bad person. It has been like this for a whole week. I thought we were able to move on and learn from it, but he demands to see a conversation that's gone, that I did show. He also made rules for me and lies that I didn't do but make sense to him. He says his demands to build trust are non-negotiable and non-compromising. He also knows he got me pregnant. We just find out. He was mean about it, but offered a clinic, but has even mentioned trying to get me pregnant. This will be the second time in a year. I don't really know what to do. I'm alone in this state far from home. I'm afraid he'll destroy my things if I leave. He says he wants to break up because I went for a few hours, but he moved me to Florida. I didn't go out to break his heart or try to tear us apart. I just wanted to be able to feel like I have my own life, but I guess it's not okay cause again he went and destroyed my things. I have no desire to cheat, and things he says I lied about to me do not make logical sense. Feeling lonely and emotional. He left me alone at home RN, but I feel lost. He says I don't want to work on relationship, but I've been home all week. What can I do? I don't want a relationship where we go through each other's phones. I feel moving alone from another state should show I'm serious. Comments. Dear, I have seen less red flags on the Soviet Union. This fella seems to have absolutely no control of himself, and it poses a danger to your well-being. You can't prove you didn't. It's impossible to prove a negative. Your behavior was also sketchy, so you meeting another man is a reasonable interpretation. His reaction is over the top, and he should have just broken up with you. I am very interested in your opinion about these stories. Write in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. It's very important to me. I love you very much.